Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell Podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course. Pleased to be joined by the one, the only. Yeah, he's back. It's Mitchell Breuer. How's it going, bud?
Going good. I mean, can't be going much better after yesterday's race
Oh
at
yeah,
Kansas.
big time. Yeah, in case you missed it, if you didn't watch that Cup race at Kansas, first off, why didn't you? And second off, it was a pretty good race, I will say. I mean, it had everything. You got a battle for the win, and then you had a fight at the end. So, where do you want to start with this?
I mean, we could start anywhere, Casey. The entire weekend in general was full of great races. That Cup race, though, I mean, there's no denying which race was the best race of the weekend. It was definitely the one on Sunday this week. What a show, Casey.
Oh yeah. Um, yeah, let's talk about that. You know, Larson and Hamlin, and then I mean, obviously, I know I saw a lot of people saying, "Oh, no, it's like do as I say, not as I do." But I mean, at the end of the day, everyone's going after the big prize, and I mean, obviously, Hamlin and Larson are pretty good friends. I mean, I mean, and they've had battles before. And there were times where Larson's came out on a few of them. So, but but it was but Denny did what he had to do, and he got the win. Toyota was pretty dominant. I mean, and it was good to see Kyle get back up there, because there were times where he had to climb through the back and all that stuff. And yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, what a wild day for Kyle Larson from the get-go. I mean, he was leading the race and got turned by another Denny Hamlin car and Tyler Reddick, obviously an accident, but like you said, he had to work his way through the field and eventually became a contender again. But man, yeah, I you play to win the game, Casey, and Denny Hamlin won the game yesterday, whether you like it or whether you don't. And I think my favorite tweet of the people that didn't like it came from Kyle Larson's wife, Caitlin, that said, "Actions hypocritical." That one made me laugh. But I mean, Denny had to do what he had to do. I have zero qualms with what Denny Hamlin did. You want these guys to race as hard as possible, maybe make a little contact. Kyle finished the race, he finished second. You play to win the game, and I want that every single week. I want these guys beating and banging. If somebody hits the wall, that's just better TV. I mean, you can't ask for a better finish than that. I mean, if the shoes were on the other foot, people would be going crazy about how great of a finish it was and how good for Kyle Larson to move Denny out of the way. So I'm all about it. Like I said, you play to win the game. Denny Hamlin hadn't won since the Coke 600 last year.
Yeah.
That's so long ago. That's almost a year ago. And you think of Denny Hamlin as this guy that's like one of the top drivers in NASCAR. He almost had a year-long streak. He was less than 30 days away from that. He has to get back to victory lane. You do what you got to do, and you can't fault any there. I think he had the better card there, and I think that was pretty clear at the end. But again, it's just one of those things where like he probably wasn't going to be able to pass him. His only shot at winning was give him a little scoot out of the way, and you got
Yeah.
to do what you got to do.
Yeah. Well, there was that, and then that got overshadowed by the big fight on pit road. Obviously Ross Chastain and Noah Gragson, and I think we know this, but Ross has kind of gotten a lot of drivers mad over over the last few years. It's no secret. But obviously these two had obviously these two came across each other at Talladega, and then now they get into each other, and they decided to fight it out on pit road. It was interesting. And Noah put his hands on him, and then Ross, threw the first punch, and off they went.
He told him to stop. He told him to stop. This is a direct message to Noah Gragson. Throw the first punch next time, Noah. This is like the third time this has happened where you've gotten decked in the face. If you're gonna go, if he's telling you stop, you swing, buddy. You swing. I mean, but like you said, I mean, this is. I feel like it's been building with Ross Chastain. Every single week we've had guys. You had last week where Brendan Poole said he's going to get his butt kicked. I mean, he didn't really get his butt kicked yesterday, but I don't think this is going to be the last interaction with Ross Chastain. And frankly, like I've told you this before, Casey, why should it be? Ross Chastain's leading the points by a lot. Nobody's even close to him right now. Yeah, he doesn't have a win or anything yet, but he's having a fantastic season. I don't think he really cares who he makes mad or who tries to beat him up on pit road. One, he can defend himself pretty well, as he showed yesterday. But two, it's just like, I don't know. Noah said it best, is that like he's gonna keep doing it until somebody kicks his butt. And I think he's probably gonna still keep doing this. I don't think he's gonna stop until like it truthfully hurts him. And even then, like we saw Denny get into him at Pocono last year. We saw Denny get into him at Phoenix this year. Ross Chastain has not slowed down, and he just keeps rolling on. And I mean, can you fault the guy? I mean, everybody wants to criticize him and say, "Oh, he's racing too aggressive. He's doing this wrong. He's doing this wrong." He's leading the points right now. He is the top dog, and I don't think he cares who he makes mad. And I guess good for him. It's working.
It's working for him. I mean, he's leading the points. He doesn't have a win yet, but he
Yep.
is leading the points. So it's and he's putting up some solid results. And there's obviously some tracks that are coming up that he's done pretty well at in the past. So
And
we'll just
that's
have
the
to
thing
see there.
too. And that's the thing too, is like we emphasize the fact that he hasn't won. Ross Chastain has been in like the top 5 every single week. It's not like he's running 12th or anything. Like I said, he's leading the points by a significant margin over everybody else. It's not like he's doing bad. He's still one of the best cars on a weekly basis, and it's working for him right now. And I don't think he cares if he doesn't have any friends.
Yeah, but let's talk about this overall race at Canada. Obviously, I think it's been, I don't think I think everybody can agree that that was probably the best race that we've seen in 2023. And yeah, I think it's definitely what does it say? Because everyone was, remember when everyone said that, oh, the mile and a half package is not good after Vegas. I mean, I guess there were some concern, but obviously obviously I think those kind of went away. But obviously, we got some. It'll be interesting to see what happens at like the Coke 600, or when we go to somewhere like Nashville, or when we go to Michigan later in the year.
And
So
I think something that's really going to benefit all these tracks and something that benefited Kansas this weekend was it was really warm at Kansas this weekend. There was a joke going around that it was warmer in Kansas than it was in the F1 race in Miami. That helps a lot. And I think that's something that people kind of forget about with the Vegas race. As someone that was there, it was cold in Vegas. It wasn't like your typical, like stereotypical hot desert race. It was like 40 degrees there. And that I think had an impact on that race. Then you bring up all those racetracks that you just mentioned. The one correlation with all of them is they're all in the summer, and it's going to be nice and warm and toasty for those cars. I think it's going to set it up pretty well for these races, especially that Coke 600, which was one of the races of the year last year. It's going to be a lot of fun, Casey. And I don't think this mile and a half package is anywhere near gone from being as good as it was last year. It's as shown yesterday with the race.
yeah, yeah. Let's talk about the other series that raced to Kansas. Grant Enfinger won the truck race, first win for GMS, and obviously there's been a lot going on with their Cup team that week. We'll get into that a little bit later. And then, of course, Jesse Love, another a dominant performance in the ARCA race. Yeah, he had some challenges from Taylor Gray and Dean Thompson and Connor Mozak a little bit, but both of them had pretty dominant days in their respective races.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm going to start with ARCA here.
Yeah.
I think everybody loves the story of Frankie Muniz right now, but run from it, hide from it, do whatever. Jesse Love is going to be the guy to beat for this championship this year. And he's just proven to be that good on a weekly basis. And Casey, as you know, we've watched this kid for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
He is very, very good. And I think the world's going to really start to get to know how good Jesse Love is this season. No, not discrediting anybody else in that series. It's just Jesse Love is very, very good. And he's a very quick learner, as he showed again on Kansas on Saturday.
Yep.
And again, how about that Arcanard series, though? It has been a fun season this year. I know a lot of people have kind of raved on Arca just because we had the dominance of Ty Gibbs. We had the
Well, that's every year, though, bud.
True, absolutely. But like this year, it's been really, really competitive, and we've had some really good races in the Arcanard series, and it's just a lot of fun stories in there. And you look throughout the top you look throughout the entire field, there's good stories all around. And
Mhm.
again, what helps those good stories? Good races. And Kansas was a pretty good race for the Arkham Nard series. Um, the trucks, I feel like it's just a wild roller coaster of a ride every single weekend. You're not really sure what you're going to get. But again, it was a nice, fun race and kind of sticking with that little unpredictable trend that we've seen all weekend at Kansas, where I don't think anybody really thought that Grant Enfinger was going to be the guy to win that race, but he had a really strong truck. GMS looked pretty good. I mean, Daniel Dye showed some speed throughout the weekend,
Yeah.
and yeah, that was a fun race too.
Yeah, Raja showed speed too, and also Daniel had a new crew chief. I just realized that they changed the crew chiefs. I think this week. Blake, the crew chief that was with Stuart Friesen, Blake Bainbridge, I believe it was. Yeah, it was him. So he came over. So Daniel's got a new crew chief. And then of course, there's obviously the uncertainty with that truck team with Legacy Motor Club announcing that they're going to go to Toyota in 2024. Yeah, well, now that we're on that subject, what do you think about that? Because it's like now there's going to be 8 Toyotas in the field, and that obviously is big for when you're at tracks like Daytona and Talladega.
And kind of go back to a previous point of like, have these teams figured out the mile and a halves? We've started to see, I mean, I think there's still quite a bit of parity in the Cup Series. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, we saw that yesterday with however many different guys looked like they could have had a chance at winning that race. But one team that we really haven't seen much of this season that we saw a lot of last year is Legacy Motor Club. And I think if you would have said that this move was being made last year, I think it would have gotten a couple of more eyebrows raised. Like, ooh, they're actually Eric Jones is actually like a legit playoff contender. This year, though, you really haven't heard about Eric Jones. You haven't heard about Noah Gragson unless he cuts his hair or gets into a fight with Ross Chastain on pit road.
That's
And
true.
and like I think it just makes all the sense in the world when you look at it. And I know it. Jimmy Johnson talked about it during his media availability this week or last week.
Yep.
It's polarizing. Obviously, you have a big portion of the fan base that is very brand loyal and doesn't really care for the Toyotas. That's no secret. And we got a guy like Jimmy Johnson, who I would say is one of the most iconic iconic NASCAR drivers in general, but one of the big staples of that Chevy collection, going over to the dark side, if you will, to Toyota. It makes all the sense in the world, though. I mean, you look at a team like 2311 Racing that, like, I know the comparisons made between them and Trackhouse a lot. Trackhouse had some help when they got started. 2311 was built from the ground up, and they're a pretty decent team. They could easily have 2 cars in the playoffs this year. You bring in Legacy Motor Club, they're team number 3 at Toyota. They're team like what 5 at Chevy right now. It's an automatic increase there for Legacy Motor Club. It makes all the sense in the world, and I completely agree with the decision to move. It felt like something had to be done with this team to make them more competitive. And the thing is this isn't a team that's struggling with money either. You have Maury Gallagher, who is a very wealthy individual, putting a lot of money into this team, and who has been very open about how he wants this team to be winning races. He's had teams that have won in Xfinity. He has teams in the trucks right now that are winning races.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be running in the mid-20s in Cup. And this is the move that you have to make if you want to go out and be more competitive in Cup, in my opinion. You just weren't going to get that being the C-tier team at Chevy.
Yeah. Okay, so this week all the series are back. Cup, Xfinity, and trucks are heading to Darlington. Mark East will head to Nashville Fairgrounds. More on that. More on that when a certain someone comes on here. So what's that going to be? What do you think about going to Darlington Throwback Week? Do you have a favorite throwback scheme as of time of recording?
I really love what they've done at Trigon Garage. Not only just for the schemes, but they have went all out with the Red Horse Racing like
Yeah.
logo that they've done, and like all of the trucks. Like Time and Dean Thompson, they got trucks that look exactly like the Red Horse Racing trucks. I believe Taylor Gray does too.
No,
And then you got even the ones that don't exactly have like a quote unquote match. You still have Bubba Wallace, who has a Red Horse Racing throwback or whatever they called it, and then
box
Tanner.
numbers.
It just looks so
Yeah.
good, and it's just so cool to see like the full team commitment with it. And we just saw RCR with their Xfinity program kind of do something similar this week with their Hardwick throwbacks. I really like that Trigon Garage, and like as somebody that grew up in that era of the truck series with Red Horse Racing, it's just cool to see that team get its roses and get that respect that it deserves, because that team was awesome to watch back in the day, and it just brings back really good vibes to see them back in the truck
Oh,
series.
oh yeah, big time. Yeah, obviously we'll talk more about that as the week goes on. But yeah, what a big week at Kansas. And also, are you ready for a big few weeks? A lot of classic tracks coming up. Are you ready for North Wilkesboro? And then on top of that, ARCA's doing its own little throwback too, as they're going to Flat Rock.
It's so much fun, Casey. And I know like the month of May gets overshadowed by IndyCar, but there's so much fun going on in NASCAR across all of the series. And it's just like there's such like we've kind of had like I feel like last year we had this big buzz with the next gen car coming in. And this year we've kind of gotten overshadowed with some of the penalties and maybe not the most exciting of races. But now you've got a stretch of you got a lot of really exciting prospects of races. And I told you this before we started filming. I think North Wilkesboro could be the worst race ever, and people would still probably be going bananas over the fact that they're just at North Wilkesboro. And then you got Darlington this weekend, which just has great race after great race. And then the Coke 600, which had a great race last year. And I expect the same thing this year. It's just so much fun. And it's not just Cup. Like you said, Arca East has some fun going on. The trucks are in this throwback weekend. Xfinity's in this throwback weekend. Trucks are going to North Wilkesboro. There's just so much to look forward to in the month of May here.
Yeah, I think first points paying race at North Wilkesboro since 1996. ARCA's going back to Flat Rock for the first time since 2000. So that's yeah, a lot of big returns that weekend. And I'll be at the ARCA East race at Flat Rock. So that'll be even more exciting. Especially since Billy Venturini's gonna be in a car again. So
Billy
that's
Venturini's in a car, Casey. Like
yeah,
that's
it's like I saw Front Stretch talk to him this week, and they were and he was saying that it was like, this has always been on my bucket list. I've always wanted to race here. And yeah, it's just like that's what I think Arca wanted to accomplish with this. It's like the
if he
big
wins,
names.
he's gonna get kiss.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that'll be exciting. Well, that was also where Big Bill got his first win in Arca, actually. Was at Flat Rock back in 1983. So
Pop off the red
yeah, it's yeah. That was it was fun learning that last week when I was up at Toledo with the at Toledo Flat Rock Media Day. Got to talk to a lot of people, Ron Drager, Charlie, who will be on here later this week, and some others. So that'll be fun. Yeah, but exciting few weeks. Got all those NASCAR stuff. Plus you got the month of May too with Indy. So it's lots of stuff to watch for.
And before we wrap up, I just love the fact that the Arca East series has kind of one of those cool events, because the last few years we've kind of brushed over the Arca East series, and now they kind of actually got an event that people are actually kind of looking at and being like, "Yo, this is actually really cool." And from everything I've heard, it sounds like it's going to be a pretty cool entry list. I mean, you got guys like Billy Venturini coming back to race in it. It's just cool to see that series get a really cool event that a lot of people can just look at and be like, no, that's awesome for them. And that's what that series needs. And it's just nice to have a staple event for that race. It's nice to see the East Series get in some of this ARCA fun that we've seen with the National Series and the West Series over the last couple of seasons.
Oh yeah, big time. All right. Well, Mitchell might have to come back on here in a few weeks or something like that. We'll definitely talk to you soon. Okay, bud?
Sounds good.